And hi there. This is another session of training for the Association of Alternative Peer Group Programs members and interested people and anybody else who wants to join. We are recording this, so it will be made available to the public, at least for the present time. That's the way we're doing it. And is anybody not okay with being in this recording? If so, please let me know. Otherwise, raise your hands if you are okay with this being recorded and it being shown publicly. Okay. Janessa, you have to give me a thumbs up, or or you can say
I'm
yeah.
okay.
Okay, you're good. Yeah. All right, good. All right. Everybody been good? Good. Well, are you ready? I have a joke for you, of course. All right. Are everybody ready to write this down? This is a very important, very good joke. It's very long, though. You'll probably have to record it. Do you know how to make a squid laugh? Tentacles. Think about it. 10 tickles. Tentacles. Yes. Yeah. That's pretty good.
I have a joke that my daughter told me yesterday, or a couple of days ago.
All right, let's hear it.
All right. Why did the student eat his homework?
Why?
Because the teacher told him it was a piece of cake.
That is really good. That reminds me, it's difficult to explain puns to kleptomaniacs because they take things literally. All right, I guess that's enough of that, huh? Or I don't know, you want me to go? No, I'm not going on. I have to you can only take so much, otherwise you can overdose and then we have to call the police and stuff, so we don't want to do that. Well, who wants to tell us what's been going on for the last 2 weeks? I missed you guys last week. It just felt weird. I was like, what? This is not right. This is goofy. Anybody got something really cool that happened? I know that, Hunter, you were talking about something coming up. I know, I heard you.
Yeah, we presented to our board. I presented to the board the APG model, and they were thrilled with it. And they gave us the green light, said, go ahead and turn the Courage Center into South Carolina's first APG.
Woo! How cool is that?
So I've been backdooring APG stuff for the past 3 or 4 months, but they just gave us the green light to start looking for a counselor to hire and
wow,
and to start turning this place into like a true after-school program. And so it's exciting.
How exciting is that? That's really neat. That's
so we're
really,
going
congratulations, man.
One mutual aid meeting a week into full-on integration of the APG model.
That's
That's fantastic.
Super exciting.
Make an old man cry, I swear.
Hey, Hunter.
Yeah.
Did you guys already have funding preset, or how did you?
So we've been in existence for 4 years now, and we have a fair amount of funding stockpiled up. But right now we're in full on. We got like 4 grants that are due, in the next 2 weeks that we're writing, totaling for like $200,000, which would fund the entire operation for the next year at least.
Wow.
So we're in full on grant writing mode.
That's awesome. Maybe you can give us some tips, Hunter.
Right on.
They want to apply to you for a grant.
Oh.
That's really
well,
neat.
This is Heidi. I want to give a shout out. They're not on the call today, but Seacoast Outright had their open house and officially launched their APG this past Sunday in New Hampshire. So we are super excited. Very specialized population. Alternative peer groups for LGBTQ youth in recovery, and there's a huge need.
Awesome. Congratulations. I have something kind of cool. I think I told y'all that it was kind of my idea to retire. That was kind of what I was going to do 5 years ago. And then the movie hit and got spread around and got involved with all sorts of stuff. And when the movie hit, APGs actually have been done for over 25-year-olds for 45 years. Y'all may not know that. And they're called, I've mentioned it to you before, Others Group, Over the Hillers. And it made me sad that all of those ended up kind of being left aside and shutting down as the big push happened with the adolescents and everything. And I kept having people calling me who were over 25 and looking for counseling. And once you've done this, it is very, very difficult to ever go back to just sitting and doing individual counseling without the alternative peer group to back it up and everything. So get ready. You're going to be messed up forever, like I was. And I just couldn't do it. So I started pulling them together. Next thing you know, we had an APG meeting for adults going on. And you can't do that without family also, typically, with same degrees of success. So started up the family meeting, et cetera. Anyway, it's really grown. And over the last year, it went from virtually nothing to now we have, about 20 people all total in the program. And we usually have meetings, can get up to around 10, 11. But the other thing that happens is as word gets out, you start getting new people calls. And the longer it goes, the more new people call. We had 3 new people calls yesterday, just yesterday. And I've been down this road before. I know that when this starts up, that you can get ready for some really powerful, large, enthusiastic groups. Last Saturday, they had a socially distanced barbecue, and game day, and they were all there and they're all surprised to see each other because all these guys have pretty much met each other online and had never seen each other in person. And there they all were. So it was that we'd have a day when you have 3 new people calls is indicative of there's a corner that's just gotten turned. So we just had that. Cool. Other people got stuff to report. Anybody?
We over at Connections Wellness Group on Monday the 2nd is the first kind of feeler. We are wanting to, I guess it's technically a launch, doesn't feel like all the pieces are in place, but for adolescents with just mental health issues in general. So our first group will be on Monday.
All right. Way cool. That's so neat.
Yeah.
Nice. Anybody else? Look at Heidi's deal. Y'all see her little thingy there? I got to figure out how to do that. That's cool.
Just the reactions button.
I've never seen that one though. So I've got to.
You probably need a Zoom update
I probably do.
to get the latest reactions.
That
is
reaction
probably
only shows
very
up for me
true.
on my phone.
I'm gonna have to figure that out. Other suggestions, other announcements, other cool things.
John, Robin, and I met in person yesterday and spent 4 hours hammering out a bunch of details. And we've got, she and I will have another meeting next week because she's going to be sticking around in the Pacific Northwest for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Today we are holding our first youth advisory board meeting. So I'm off on the side here kind of printing off materials for that. And then next Wednesday, a week from today, Robin will be back in town and we'll hold our first open house for current families. And we're kind of leaving it open for potential new families, but we'll be collecting some feedback from current families as well as talking about what's on the horizon for our January official launch.
Oh, how exciting. This is also cool. I just can't even stand it. Y'all, that's so neat.
That's so great. So Michelle, the open house checklist, you'll be able to give me lots of feedback on that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. This one, I'm so excited about that checklist because there's a lot of fantastic ideas, and we're doing this one really for our current audience. And then once we have the new space nailed down and we have leases signed and all of that, then holding it for the broad general public. You've got a lot in there, Heidi. It's a really useful checklist. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it was really a collaborative effort, among all of our New Hampshire APGs. We had the opportunity to get all of our New Hampshire APGs together last week, and Seacoast was on the cusp of their open house, and so really I just culminated the ideas that were generated by all of the folks planning and running APGs in New Hampshire. We also this morning, I want to share, had a Medicaid for Peer Support webinar to help peer support organizations across the state understand how to bill Medicaid and answer some of their questions, which was great. And one of the outcomes, the feedback was fantastic. And we had good participation. I was afraid that we would have like 3 people show up, but we had about 34 participants. So given that this is a pretty specialized group and that New Hampshire is a tiny state, I thought that was pretty great. And we think we have decided that we might host another webinar on 42 CFR around confidentiality constraints, particularly for substance use disorders, because I think that there's a huge need as well within peer support.
Oh yeah. Awesome. All great stuff. Anybody got anything else? Okay. All right. Heidi's got to jump off at about a quarter till. So, and I had a organizational plan for today. I need somebody who will keep some notes though, not big intense notes, but the plan I have come up with is, and we can change it any way you want to, is we pretty much go through a discussion talking about activities, how to make it fun, activities, all right? And also then go over the checklist that the New Hampshire folks have shared with us. But what I want to end up with at the end is actually a list of activities that we have mentioned. Basically kind of a thing we can all go to later and share with others and add to as we go along. So would anybody be willing to make that list as we move through this? Anybody? Don't make me point you out. Uh-oh. Hunter's going to do it. Oh my goodness. You guys should feel ashamed.
John, I'm also...
What?
Thank you, Hunter. I'm also willing to share, so it's still in draft form, but the New Hampshire folks also created I think we called it a strengths and interests inventory. Or no, interests and, I don't know. I can send you that list. So it has a bunch of different activities on there as well, if folks would like to see that.
Great. This very well may go into two sessions, because it also, if you look at your list, one of the things that you said, and this is something that we always wished we did and always failed sometimes to do it. In your list of things to do, you have several items there that talk about making sure that the community at large knows about it, etc. Fun and activities blends with reaching out to the community if it's done right. And so I have a feeling we're going to be doing 2 of these sessions, this one today, and so this list will build through both sessions, because I want to go ahead and flesh the fun activities that are being done and how some of the ways that they can reach out into the community and do that. That also touches with some of the things we talked about and how to use social media, etc. So it's kind of a flowing thing. Heidi, do you mind taking everybody over your list since you have to drop off at the end?
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking to you while I'm still muted. I am happy to do that.
All right. You want me to pull it up?
Either way, I'm happy to share if you just want to enable screen sharing. So you do that just by, in the security features, just clicking on the box that says allow participants to share their screen.
Okay, just 1 second. Actually, I just made you a host. That one I know how to do a lot quicker. That work okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Just somebody remind me to make John host
Oh, yeah,
again when I
yeah.
log
I
off,
should've
so
made
it
you
doesn't close the
co-host.
meeting.
I'm sorry. I
Right?
don't
No, that's
think
all right.
so. Yeah.
It's totally fine. So let me just pull that up.
While she's doing that, since we're talking about fun stuff, real quickly, I want to touch on part of things being fun is a little bit of being zany, a little bit goofy. Maybe that's just because it's so close to home for me, but that helps. And you asked me what I was doing, and so I thought I would share this with you. Can y'all see what
Are you
that
having a
is?
donut?
It is. That is a werewolf donut. It
A
came out of
werewolf donut.
the Krispy Kreme Sweet and Treat Halloween dozen. All right. This was just one. There were 11 more. You can only use your imagination to figure out where they've gone.
I thought that was a tarantula.
That's awesome.
So
That's great.
and I already told you that last weekend, the group here, as their activity, they had a barbecue thing, and they brought in barbecue sauce from Arkansas and all sorts of stuff, but just doing stuff that's a little bit goofy, a little bit fun, is what makes things fun. We have had things here, and you can put this on the list. It might apply actually to several of y'all who are on the coast. But one of the things we did every year here was something called and you can tell by the name the value, the fun value of it. It's called the Crab-A-Rama. Okay. Everybody been to a Crab-A-Rama before? No, you haven't. One of you has.
Isn't that Thanksgiving?
No.
Just at my house.
It could be, I'm sure. I'm sure. Crab-A-Rama here was quite different. Not very many people have ever been to a Crab-A-Rama as that was held in Houston, Texas. But just by the name, you can tell there were a lot of things. There was a crab toss. All right. There were tournaments of crab tossing, which is a very interesting thing, and we can talk about that later. But I'm just throwing that one out to start it off with the donut, okay? Because if I were running a face-to-face meeting right now, I would bring those donuts just to kind of get feeling, to get things going. It's just anything you can do to make it goofy is a good thing, okay? Even if, and that includes this meeting here. I brought this donut up to this meeting to put a feeling of fun into this meeting, because God knows y'all need it. No, I'm just kidding. So as you're planning these things, always remember, that if it isn't fun, nobody's going to like it. I don't care. So just about anything you can do will help. Heidi, over to you.
So, John, I just want to check in for clarification. So do you want to start by talking about fun activities, or do you want to start by talking about the open house?
I would like for you to go through your checklist and kind of, any background, and just see if there's any questions, those kinds of things.
Okay,
and
great.
I think activities
sure.
will naturally arise as we're doing this.
Okay, great.
Go onto the list.
Super. Awesome. Okay, great. So sorry about that. We started talking about fun stuff and I was like, oh, I must have misunderstood and I'm sharing the wrong document.
You got it right.
Okay. So, so we've recently had a couple of open houses here in New Hampshire for our APGs, and we've got Youth Move on today's call, and they will be opening up an APG, sometime this winter, hopefully by January. And so and I've been fielding emails and phone calls from other organizations across the state who are saying, I understand you're providing some support to APGs, and we're interested in doing that. And so as we, embark on helping get alternative peer groups in New Hampshire established, I thought it would be really helpful to just come up with a checklist of some of the ideas that folks had. And so So we started with, and it's kind of organized, before, during, and after the open house. And I shared this, I think, in a Word document so that you guys can customize it and, feel free to, modify it for your purposes, as you see fit. But so we started by selecting a date that's at least a month in advance so that you have enough time to plan and advertise for the event. And you also want to consider who the audience is, what day of the week, the time of the day might be best. So, the first APG in New Hampshire that had their open house, had it on a weeknight, and they were like, well, I'm not really sure that that was the best time. Actually, I think it was during the day. It might have been during work hours. And they had said, we really should have thought a little bit more about what our target audience was and who we really wanted to outreach. Because, that's going to impact what the best day of the week is. So our APG that had an event this weekend was a little bit disappointed that they didn't have the turnout that they wanted. But the Patriots were also playing, right? Like, consider competing events and things that are happening in the community. And I think it's important, one of the things that we have heard from our APG that launched last month was, even though they were disappointed with the turnout that they had for their open house, I think they had like 12 people come by. They had so many phone calls and emails as follow-up. And so many organizations and the community reached out to say, we saw your notice about your open house and we're really curious about what you're doing, and we would love to learn more about your open house, but because we're remote or have schedule conflicts, we're not able to make your open house. So the ripple effect, I think, from the open house was far worth it for them. So they got, at least 3 to 5 referrals, I think, that came through after that. So then thinking about the location. So, we know that substance use disorders can be stigmatizing. And so making sure that the location is going to be physically accessible as well as free from harassment. So, the APG that opened this weekend, they also serve youth who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. And so again, we want to be kind of mindful and assessing, the area and make sure that, it's going to be in an area where they're not going to be concerned about outing themselves or, any potential harassment. And then considering the budget, whether you have a budget, and if you don't have a budget, are there organizations in the community that you might be able to reach out to ask for donations of, items, or borrow tents or chairs or tables and things like that. So Seacoast Outright this weekend, partnered with another organization to borrow tents, tables, chairs, things like that. So you don't necessarily have to purchase them or have them yourself, but just, thinking about other resources in the community. And then some of those promotional products as well. And I'm talking pretty quickly just because I know I need to jump off soon, but I'm sure you guys have lots and lots of great ideas about all of these different supplies or activities. And then I thought about hyperlinking these to within New Hampshire. So one of the things, one of the, I think, underrated and underused ways to market your event is using press releases and sending those out to local newspapers, radio stations, and TV stations. And so I just Googled like the most popular radio and TV and newspapers in New Hampshire, and I included those here, but I ran out of time. I was hoping to hyperlink them for our APGs just to make it a little bit easier for them. And at some point might put out some guidance around developing a press release and what that looks like. But if you guys Google it, it's pretty straightforward. And then, you know, getting the word out, right? So sending out email blasts, you know, thinking about who your referral base is. And so for us in New Hampshire, we talked about, you know, community centers, mental health centers, health centers. We talked about the court system, the juvenile justice system, you know, as all being potential referral bases for the APGs, as well as, you know, directly marketing to youth and family organizations when that's possible. And then talked about having a raffle to encourage, you know, maybe like, you know, if you bring 2 friends or 2 people with you, you know, we might not want to do that during a pandemic, but, you know, thinking about like how to get more people there, you know, when things return to normal, like maybe entering them into a raffle for a gift basket or a t-shirt or something like that, you know, if they bring people or share the event. And then thinking about social media. So I know we talked last time, or the last call that I was able to join, we talked a little bit about hashtags and using social media. So I capitalized on that conversation to incorporate some of that in here. And I have a couple of teenage sons. And so, you know, kind of talked with them and again, Googled like the most popular social media outlets with adolescents. And Snapchat and Reddit and YouTube were right up in there. And so thinking about making, you know, a quick 1-minute video to post on YouTube or, you know, a subreddit. Maybe there's an LGBTQ, you know, Portsmouth subreddit, you know, that our Seacoast Outright could post their open house or events to and things like that. And then Live Free Recovery had reached out to their local legislators and said that that was really very helpful to them. And Seacoast actually followed up with me yesterday or Monday, I guess, the week is a blur, to say that that they had heard from a local legislator as well, who was really interested in substance use disorder supports in New Hampshire, and so, you know, really intentionally, I think, outreaching some local legislators. You know, New Hampshire, you know, I always say, you know, we have a lot of small town New Hampshire, so we don't have a lot of cities, you know, that actually have mayors, but we have our few big cities in New Hampshire. But reaching out to, you know, local folks, even school principals, superintendents, you know, may be aware of youth in their community, youth and family members who could benefit from an APG. And as well as community centers and so forth. And then what I think is most important and probably the most overlooked is preparing staff for the event. And so just ensuring that staff are prepared to speak with the public about what an APG is and having them write out what they might say, role play, you know, make scripts, make sure that they're not using jargon. I know that these days I feel like I eat, sleep, breathe APGs. And so I'm often using that acronym, and people that aren't like immediately in my circle don't know what I'm talking about. So, you know, making sure that we're not just assuming that people know what an APG is or an alternative peer group even, you know, that we have to think about how to, you know, I always say give an elevator speech, right? So if you're on an elevator with somebody for 3 minutes or less, how are you going to boil it down to make it easily understood? And trying to shoot for 6th grade comprehension language as our target usually. And our event coordinator at the UNH Institute on Disability has been helping me put together an infographic about what is APG, so that that could be used to get the word out or help support staff, you know, share information with youth and families in the broader community. So I'm happy to share that as well if folks would like to see that. And then and then, having a conversation about how staff and volunteers should dress. So do you have APG t-shirts that they should wear, or your organization's, a polo shirt, with your logo on it or something like that? Or, does it matter? Yeah, right. So just thinking through some of those things. And then showcasing the services and programming that the organization offers. So if you also offer intensive outpatient services, if you have a recovery high school that you're affiliated with, thinking about having some of those materials and, highlighting some of the services and programming that you have, whether that is with flyers, or maybe you put up a slideshow, with various services and activities that you have happening, or, have some different screens up, highlighting your web page or social media pages. Just to make it a little bit more engaging. Or if youth have, I know one of our organizations has talked about doing like a clothesline project, where they might have youth design t-shirts about their recovery process. And maybe you have a display where you hang those up, right, for folks to see or showcase, some of the art or artifacts that youth or participants have created. And then, as John was pointing out, it's important to keep guests entertained and well fed. And so thinking about food and drink, and during COVID-19, we are trying to be particularly cautious about making sure that we have individual servings whenever possible. And then thinking about quick fun activities and games, particularly when people, with an open house where people might be arriving at different times, activities that folks can engage in that don't all have to happen at the same time. And so this weekend they brought like cornhole and lawn darts, I think, and some of those outdoor ball games and things like that for folks to play. And then I think they set up painting pumpkins as an activity. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And then thinking about, so Seacoast Outright, for example, they just came off of Pride, which is their big fundraiser for the year. And so they were saying, let's give away a bunch of Pride t-shirts, right? Like we can raffle those off or give them away to folks. And thinking about, will you provide music? And if you provide music, do you have a playlist that you'll queue up, or is somebody going to screen the music to make sure that there's not, drugs or vulgarity, in the music that you might be playing and potentially offend somebody, at your APG open house. So, with thinking about those kinds of things. And then for setup, I was recommending drawing out kind of in advance multiple stations, just to kind of plan it out, and thinking about the different activities you'll have and how you would set those up. So if you have a physical location like a building, would you set up different activities in different rooms so that folks could move through and kind of tour the facility or organization? Or if you're, if you're outside and trying to socially distance, how will you do that? And just being mindful about having designated areas and thinking about staff who might be highlighting different parts of the program. Or programming, and then thinking about how many people you might need to set up, what last minute items might you need. So if you need ice, are you going to buy that ahead of time and throw it in the freezer? Is somebody going to run out last minute and get ice? Those kinds of logistical items that folks often forget about, until the very last minute. And so thinking about those things as well. And then having a way to collect information from people when they arrive. And so ideally you want to get people's contact information so that you can put them on a mailing list, or share information out with them, and then and planning cleanup. So if you have folks that are there 2 hours before the open house to set up, maybe organizing other people to do the cleanup so that you're not overtaxing staff and kind of staggering what that looks like, or soliciting volunteers. And then within a few days of the open house, making sure that you're outreaching any youth or families who expressed interest in your APG and answering their questions, sending them information about your program and intake process. And then sending thank yous to attendees and, scheduling newsletters or email blasts, and then posting images and updates to social media. So that was a lot. I'm going to pull up one more document if I can, just to share, because I think it is so awesome. This has been on my wish list since like June or July. If I can find the infographic. Shoot, now I can't find it. The cat just sent me an updated one, so I'm trying to pull it up. Here it is. Okay, let me share this and just because I have to jump off in just a couple of minutes. But I really wanted something with the graphics to explain what an APG looks like, what it is, and why it's important in New Hampshire. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Are you seeing this? It's a little big to fit completely on the screen. And so, just a little blurb about what alternative peer groups are. And then on the left-hand side of the screen, what we did is we pulled data from our New Hampshire Youth Risk Behavior Surveys, which is a survey that's administered in the schools around risk behaviors. And so we highlighted the New Hampshire specific statistics here on the left-hand side, and then at the bottom included the 3 APGs that are happening or will be happening. So, so that was a lot, and I really want to hear your feedback, but I also have to log in to teach a class. So I'm going to ask Janessa and Hannah and Gibby and Lauren to update me, with any feedback that you guys have on those materials that I just shared. And I
have some feedback.
Oh,
it's
thank
awesome.
you.
It's awesome stuff. Very helpful. I wish we'd had it in times in the past.
Right.
What we did is we developed instinctual processes for getting that all done, but making a list and getting it down in black and white is very helpful, and especially to folks who are
just starting out, right?
Together.
Yeah. So we've also
so thank you, and I hope you didn't feel.
Yeah, we've we've also added a link to our Creating Connections New Hampshire webpage, specifically for alternative peer groups, and we're starting to post the resources that we've been developing in hopes that they're useful and helpful to other organizations in New Hampshire, but also nationally. So if there's anything there, feel free to use it. So, and I can actually, can I ask Janessa, can you post that in the chat, the Creating Connections website before the call ends? Otherwise I can email it out, but I have to log on to let students in. So I'm gonna log off of this call. But thank you guys so much. It's always great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi. That was
class.
awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
It was awesome.